Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Grace of a Military Child in Life podcast. Military families are not like your traditional family. They are strong, brave, resilient, and some of the most incredible people I know. My name is Gracie, a U.S. Army BRAT, and I am your host. I am honored to be able to give military family members like myself a place for them to share their stories and experiences in the military life. Stay tuned for this week's guest. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Grace of Military Child in Life. Today, I'm here with Abby, who is a Marine spouse. So, Abby, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, give us an insight of what it's like being a military spouse, Marine Corps spouse, what it's like for you.
Yeah, so my husband has been enlisted for 6 years in September, and he actually is commissioning to be an officer. So
congratulations!
So we're doing the MESEP program. So we will go to college for 4 years following his OCS graduation, and then he'll actually commission then. But it's going to be kind of cool to have like enlisted experience, and then the officer side of things. I've heard it's a whole different world. So we'll see what happens. He will be done with OCS in less than 2 weeks. So we are in a season where we're very ready for that to be over. But I'm
getting ready to start the officer process on the Army side, going civilian to officer. So I'm like ready to get started.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
I'm sure when it's the end of it, I'll be ready to be over with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they are in the forge right now. Actually, it's like a 54-hour accumulative thing. They started that at like 1 or 3 this morning. So
wow, super early.
Yeah, they're in the thick of it. But yeah, so we've been married since 2020, and that's when I moved to North Carolina. We've been pretty lucky. We've been stationed here the past 4 years. So we were due to PCS last year, but with the MESEP program, they just kind of let us stay put, which I was very grateful for. So we've been super lucky. My husband is not gone a ton right now, but becoming an officer, he will probably be gone a ton. So I like to just take it as it comes, I guess, because it's definitely not easy at times when they're gone. I feel bad when other spouses have them deployed way more, but I think that'll come for us. So yeah,
everyone will have their time.
I'm not rushing into that. Unfortunately. And so my parents and my sisters were all in the Navy. So but it was kind of different for me. I didn't grow up in a military life because my mom had me when she was 40. So she had already retired. And my sisters always tell me like the stories of moving to new schools and PCSing. And I kind of got a different lifestyle because my parents were retired and kind of settled. And my sisters are like 15 years older than me, and then they were both in the Navy, and I was the first one to not go into the military. But I'm fine with that. I married one, obviously.
Exactly.
I married in. Yeah. So in 2020, I moved here. My husband had already been stationed here. I was in college in South Carolina. So I came, and I was actually just visiting. And then that's when the whole world shut down for COVID. And I was like, well, we've already been dating for like 6 years. So here we are. And then we got married in October, and he left right away. They took him to a training or whatever. And so I just joined the spouse club, and I was the social chair, and I love the spouse club. I'm the vice president now, and I can't speak highly enough about joining them because it's good to meet your people. But yeah,
that community factor is just so important for every person within the military family, whether you're a child, whether you're a spouse, whether you're the actual service member. And it's a little easier for the service member because they're kind of, forced to be around the community and the daily work. Sure. But then the spouses and the kids, you kind of have to really step into that and find those clubs, those groups that meet around base or, off base, and even in the civilian community too.
Yeah, for sure. It's so good. You just get to meet so many people and like, I would say number one thing, don't let your spouse like freak you out. Like my husband, he was like, that's gonna be weird. I feel like it's gonna be like a lot of like the stigma is a lot of like
Right.
seasoned spouses and higher up spouses. And I was like coming in as a very, very brand new Marine Corps spouse. But no, they love to embrace you because they've had all of these years of experience and it's so good. Just don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game and try to go because it's so awesome. I love to meet everybody there.
Yeah, I definitely think like you'll go throughout the military life and you'll find some of those spouses that fit the stigma of whatever it is. But then so many spouses are just willing to connect with you, bring you in, seasoned or not, too.
Yeah.
Like they've understood the life that you're living because they've lived it, they are living it.
Yeah,
and they just
exactly.
It's like cheerleaders everywhere you go, just cheering you on.
For sure. Yeah, it's awesome. It's a good community.
No, I love that. And I love, it sounds like that was one of the first things you did was get connected. And
I did.
Being able to just like put yourself out there is huge because if you don't, then you really miss out on that from the beginning. And, during an isolating time like the pandemic, you really need that community.
Yeah, for sure. And like when I moved here, I was literally on spring break and then that's when everything shut down. So I finished my last few semesters of college online and then I had a hard time like finding a job. And so I was like babysitting and then now working in outpatient mental health, but I work remotely. So like it was super important to get connected because if I don't really like, especially with my husband being gone, I don't have much connection to the outside world if I don't leave my house. So yeah, definitely important to get connected and like it's just my favorite things. We go to like dinner once a month and it's just as simple as that. Just catch up with everybody and it's been a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. And with like a background in mental health, you know the importance of it because
for sure.
That's what you study. That's what you practice.
Yeah.
And, practice what you preach, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that was one of the most important things when I moved here in 2020, like pandemic hit, no one knew what was happening. I was still in college. Then I finished college and then I'm trying to find an internship. And then I'm newly married. I couldn't even have a wedding because the venue was like, you can have 20 people. And I'm like, 20 people? That's like nothing.
Yeah, you've got to invite all of your family, his family, friends.
Yeah.
All the important people.
All the important people. So we ended up just like eloping, just the two of us, maid of honor. And it was the best decision we could have made at the time. But then he leaves and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I start my internship and like I had such horrible anxiety and such horrible burnout from like all of these changes. And I didn't know anybody because this was like October, November timeframe. And I didn't join the spouse club until like February. So like in that time, I was like, who, what, where, when, what do I do? I just had this dog, my dog, and we're like so anxious together. And started going to therapy for myself. And it's such a good thing to do. Like, because you just have to learn how can I support myself? And now I feel lucky enough that I'm pretty grounded in order to help other spouses now. But yeah, my grad school right now is in clinical mental health counseling. So I'll be a licensed professional counselor. About to go into that internship at the end of this year. So it's kind of like, okay, let's do it better than the other internship as far as like burnout goes. But music therapy is my undergrad. So
I love that.
Definitely mental health geared. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I love so my dad was injured in Afghanistan. And so, after experiencing so many things, we were moved to San Antonio, Texas for his recovery at B.R.A.T.
Yeah.
And one of the things that one of the resources we had there was called the Warrior and Family Support Center. So we called it the WFSAC. There'd be tons of different activities for us to do just to keep the whole family occupied. So lots of crafts would come in, but then you see how much that artistic side really comes in and plays a huge role in, I mean, this is like traumatic recovery, right? So like talking about amputations, but even from those traumatic situations all the way down to, a deployment or something where music or arts and crafts really gets you through some of those hard times. And, even speaking now as an adult, like to music specifically, like breakups, everything, like there's a song that has gotten me through every stage of life.
Yeah, you have a lot of musical baggage.
Yes.
That comes with every season. It's something that's always there. It's such a good outlet and a good connector for families during that time. And in grad school right now, I'm doing a research like proposal per se, and you have to choose the area you live. And so I chose, Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point. And it's exploring how we could support military spouses, because if there's retention, if we want retention for the Marines or for any of the military members, you really have to focus on the spouses so they can have healthy relationships and be able to grow and support our service members. And it's been cool to kind of explore that and see like I wish I had my statistics in front of me right now, but a lot of spouses deal with somatic anxiety symptoms and insomnia, specifically during deployment periods. And so it's like, how can we have support for them in deployment phases or pre-deployment or even post-deployment? Because there's so many challenges that come with all of that, and not even just the spouse, but the kids and the family, and how can we connect them? So I'm so glad you guys had that program. That sounds like it was a good one.
Yeah, I definitely think that there are so many things that, we talk about the, like you said, the retention rate, the recruitment numbers within our military as a whole, not even specific to one branch. But I think there are so many people finally kind of putting the two and two together, that if the family is not supported, then the service member is not going to be supported. They're not going to be encouraged to continue their career and want to, be drawn to military service. And because, my generation is seeing all of this, we're not as inclined to want to go into the military and want to go through all of that, put our kids and our spouses through that. I'm already over here like, okay, it's going to be years before I have kids, but how am I going to deal with this with my kids, and what are they going to go through? So I think it's really important to start that research, and it should have been done years ago, but it's happening, and that's what matters the most.
For sure. It's definitely something that's important.
And just having the family supported, and especially the spouse, because when your spouse deploys or goes away for training or, has long work days, everything falls on, your shoulders, and
you have
to do everything.
And it's funny you say that, actually, because I feel like I'm not a parent. I just have dogs. And
you're a dog mom. That's okay.
I am a dog mom, and I love my dogs literally so much, but like
they're still needy.
They're still very needy. And my dog, this is very random, he literally broke his canine tooth. Like the root and the nerve was exposed. It was horrible. And I was set to go out of town, and that's the only day that they could get him in for surgery, was when I was out of town. And I was like, they are not going to let you off to take your dog to surgery, because they're going to be like, it's not a freaking kid.
Yeah.
We don't,
if it was a child, it probably would have been different.
Be different, whatever. But I'm the default. Like, that's why I like having my flexible work, because a lot of times you do have to be the one to make the sacrifice. And it's very frustrating at times. But I think separating, like, if they could be there, they could. It's not them making the decision to not be there. So trying not to be like frustrated with them. But I do believe they let him take him to the surgery. So that was, it was like at the very end of the day or something. He had to drop him off in the morning and get him at the end of the day. But I was glad he got to do that.
Yeah, I think, the military tries to be understanding, of life circumstances. Yeah. And I think they try and they try their best. But at some points, it's like they just, job's got to get done. And
exactly.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Even if it's just, whatever the case may be.
For sure.
But again, even going back to like the spouses club and things like that, that's why community is so important. Because when your spouse is not there, and you don't live near family most of the times, you don't have friends in that area, who else are you to rely on besides the community that you create for yourself?
Exactly. And I actually had that instance in January. My husband was gone and I was like so sick. And we had a spouse dinner that night and I didn't show up and I didn't tell anyone I wasn't coming because I was like sleeping. And they were like, "Are you alive? What is happening? Yeah. Are you okay?" And by the end of the night, I had soup and Gatorade and saltines on my doorstep waiting for me.
Look at that.
They are just, and then they were constantly checking in with me. And so, yeah, it's so important to build that community because like there is, and something we're trying to do is like this year for the spouse club is build back our sub clubs, which kind of like went away during COVID, but like just introducing the smaller communities like book club, dog walking, gaming, X, Y, and Z, so that like a ton of our military spouses have kids and they connect through that. But if you don't have kids and you're a younger spouse, or maybe you're a spouse that chooses to not have kids, like sometimes it can be hard to connect. So that's something we're really focusing on, which I'm excited about because there's so many ways to connect. And then you find your specific people. We even did like a Swiftie Eras themed
that was so
event.
Fun.
And it was so fun. I literally loved it so much. And we did like bracelet making at our meeting. And it was just like, it was fun. Getting together and doing all the things. Yeah.
Well, and you start to get into those things where, I mean, like you said, book club. And that is becoming huge, I think, nationwide.
Yeah, for
everyone's
sure.
reading. Like, I literally have my books right next to me.
Yeah.
So, like, I think this whole world is just turning to books because I think, for whatever reason. And I just love that.
Yeah.
But you find your people there. You find what you can connect over. And you can, I love throwing parties and events and stuff like that. It's so fun. And just being creative. And so when you can really kind of theme it down to something like that, like the Taylor Swift Eras night, like I think it's just everyone connects so much better because you're bonding over something that everyone enjoys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love, love, love event planning. Yes. If I had to start a new career, I think it'd be event planning. It's so like in college, I was the social events coordinator and then I came here and did it. And now the sub clubs is my little baby. Cause I just, if there is a fun themed party, I'm coming. So
I know, right?
That's what a lot of spouses say. They're like, I love an excuse to dress up. So like, let's do that. Like, let's do that. So,
right. And even kind of like what you were saying earlier, like most spouses kind of have remote jobs now because it's hard to take a career with you from coast to coast around the world.
Yeah, it is.
And so having a remote career or choosing to have, be an entrepreneur or choosing to stay at home mom or, stay at home and dog mom, whatever, your situation presents you. A lot of spouses just spend the days at home and very isolated, Yeah. And so when you have an excuse to go out and do something fun, like a book club or dog walking or get up and get dressed up for an event or something, I think that's why everyone looks forward to I know the Marine Corps goes big for it too, but the birthday balls, I think that's why everyone kind of looks forward to those occasions and parties because that's just, that's your excuse to get out and go somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. No, super for sure. I love that so much. I love the ball every year. I'm excited because the ball every year we've been here has been at one spot, but now it's moving this year. So I'm excited to try like a different venue, which will be kind of cool. But yeah, and then every year the Spouse Club does a ball gown, like Cinderella's closet type thing. It's Operation Ball Gown. Yeah, so it's really cool to also see all the spouses that come out for that, and then everyone that like donates their dresses, and then it's so good because they can get expensive. So
they can, and you can't wear the same dress twice.
No, you cannot wear the same dress twice. So it's so good to see everyone come out. That's one of our biggest events, and yeah, it's awesome. I love events. It definitely brings people out.
Yes, and it's so important to get out there. I think something I've heard echoed from so many different spouses and even kids on the podcast recently is you can't pour from an empty cup. So doing those fun things just to fill your cup and get out there, meet people, do things, whatever your vibe is, and getting out there and doing that. Even if it's just going and sitting on the beach or something for a little while. Mine would be hiking in the woods or something, but getting out there doing something that that makes you happy, especially because this lifestyle is not always happy. It's not always fun. It is very challenging. But you make the most of it.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that another thing that I hear spouses say a lot is like, I didn't know anyone, so I didn't go. And I'm like, message me, message someone, drag a friend. If you don't have any friends, then I will meet you at the door and I will bring you in, because it is like overwhelming and intimidating to go into a place where you don't know anybody. And I think our goal is just to be very welcoming as spouses. Like a lot of spouses laugh at me, but we meet at the public house in North on base. Okay. North Carolina. I don't know why I'm saying that, but at a public house, it's basically like they have an arcade, they have food, they have a conference room, they have a movie hall, whatever. And we host our meetings there and we do happy hour beforehand. And if I spy any spouses in there, I go up to them. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're meeting here. Like if you want to like join us. And I do that because I'm like, what if they came and now they're nervous to come over? Right. Or what if they have never heard about the Spouse Club and maybe they need friends? And I just go over, and then most of the time they will come over and at least introduce themselves and see what it's about. So I'm totally okay being out of my shell doing that because I think it helps some people.
Well, and not everyone is always willing to, I mean, even like you were saying, just walk over and, put themselves out there. It is hard for some people. And, that's why we need kind of the extroverts to help, drag those people in.
Exactly.
It is so, so important to just feel like you're supported. And I think, it does take some putting yourself out there. You have to give to receive. But I think, if you feel like you're welcomed somewhere, then, it's going to be the world of a difference. Even if,
for sure.
That first person you meet might not be the friend that you have for a lifetime. And that's okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I actually wanted to talk about that. So I'm glad that you mentioned it. It's like understanding and accepting that our friends are sometimes only here for a season, and that there's like no hard feelings when you guys are not glued at the hip anymore. Like I have a good friend, but we do not see each other all the time. And her name is Lauren. And when we first met, both of our husbands were gone for like 3 to 6 months. And we were together all the time. And our dogs would play. And I would walk over to her house and she would walk to mine. And I would cook dinner. And then she'd cook dinner the next night.
I love that.
And it was amazing. And then, like she became a mom, and that's super, super great. And now she's bonding with people that are in the same season as her. And also I moved. So like, that's also sad. But sometimes people are there for a season, and that's okay because we move through these different seasons. And of course, if our spouses are gone, we're going to be together more versus our friend whose spouse is home, So definitely understanding sometimes they're there for a season, but you always still remain in touch. I don't know what it is about military friendships, but like you can just hit up, like since my family was military, like anytime I'm road tripping, they're like, oh, well, look up blah, blah, blah in Georgia and look up these guys in Tennessee. And oh, you're going to Wyoming? We know someone there too.
That is the most incredible part of coming from a military family and being in a military family is just the connections that you have literally globally. Because like you said, those road trips, you never have to have a hotel. You can always stay with someone.
Exactly.
I always say, like, there's friends that I had in Texas, and then once I moved, you know, it was over a decade ago, and we did not really have technology, and 12-year-olds did not walk around with phones at that time. We were just getting to that point, but, you know, I lost touch with them for 8 to 10 years, and, you know, connecting through Instagram again, it's like no time has passed. Like, you are still friends. So it does not matter where you are on this planet. You know, if you are friends once, like, you are most likely going to be friends for a lifetime. But like you said, you grow apart during different seasons when you're a parent, when you're not a parent, when you're a solo parent, when you know, a loved one is gone, you know, you're more likely to see each other on the daily. But then, you know, your spouse comes home and it's a little different then. And, you know, you walk through so many different seasons in life in general, but then in the military life where you need more support, you need less support, and whatever the case may be, you know, you always have people there for you.
For sure. Definitely do. It's been cool. And even like my family, people that I had never met since I like was the baby that came like way after my parents were out of the military, like still they've never met me. And then I remember when my husband was in Pensacola, Florida for training right out for his MOS school, and I was in college, I like road tripped to Pensacola, and my mom was like, oh my gosh, go stay with my friend in Georgia. And I did. And I was like, but I've never met them. And they were,
I know, like, it's so weird, but it's like family.
It is like family, like amazing. And now I understand, like, building those friendships. I'm like, okay, I get it now. But yeah,
it's a whole new world once you really get into it and you understand it, especially if you weren't necessarily around for it as a child. And then, you know, kind of experiencing it still from the child's perspective in a sense later on in life.
Seriously, I was. Yeah. And I think honestly, like, that would be one of my biggest takeaways is like invest in yourself. You're not just a spouse. Like, it doesn't have to be college, but something that is your thing. Because if you know who you are and you're grounded and your career might change a little bit. You may have to be a bit flexible, but like definitely know who you are, be your own person. And I feel like it makes it easier when they leave because honestly, I kind of like it sometimes when my husband is gone. I'm like, I have my schedule, I have my routine, I have all my things. And it's kind of like empowering to know, like, I'm good. And I love when you're here. Don't get me wrong. But I'm good. I mean, 3 months is like, okay, I'm getting to the point where I want you back. But
2 weeks here and there.
2 weeks here and there. It's fine.
Yeah. There's some spouses who are, you know, obviously you love your spouse, you love, you know, your parent, whatever. But then, you know, there's times where it's like, okay, you've been here too long. Like, can you just, you know, pack your bags and go for a little while? So that I can like hit the reset, whatever. And I always find that so funny. I was a daddy's girl, so I never wanted my dad to go away. And I always hated those days. But I could only imagine, like, you know, it's like, okay, well, you kind of know too, you know, they're not going to be home for that long. And when they are home for an extended period, you're like, okay, when's this going to come up again? Like, just start going.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the weird thing about like college is our next step for him. Yeah. And so he'll just be in the ROTC program, but he's still like active duty. And it's like, you're going to be on a college kid schedule for 4 years. Like,
and it's a weird schedule to be on.
It's a weird schedule to be on. And I'm like, that's going to be weird. Like, it's going to be good because I think he's going to be so busy once the next season comes. Right. So I want to like soak it all up. But it's also going to be weird compared to now because he could definitely be like the default dog parent during that time.
You can go on your vacations.
Yeah, I can for sure. But yeah, we're excited for it.
Yeah, no, that is so exciting. And especially, my dad was enlisted, so we never had the officer experience. And, like you were saying at the beginning, like it's such a different world from enlisted to officer, and hearing about families going through that transition. It's just, it's a whole new world once you get into it.
It is. I'm excited for it. I really am excited for it. I think it'll be good. I've met some really great officer spouses, and I love my enlisted spouses, and I know that they will guide us as we go into these like uncharted waters.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, to wrap this up, you kind of gave it a little earlier too, but what is like one piece of advice that you would give to another military spouse?
Honestly, go to therapy, whether that's like actual therapy or it's your best friend.
Best friends are always great too.
Yeah, best friends are great. They may tell you things that your therapist doesn't like know because maybe you haven't told them. So just honestly like invest in yourself, because the stronger you are, the stronger you can be in your relationship with your spouse, and just like really develop who you are. And I feel like that's an ongoing process, but I feel like the more you lean into it, it's just so empowering. So definitely like invest in yourself, even when it may be like inconvenient, or it might be not, you feel like it can't be the priority, especially as a mom or the spouse is gone, but just however you can, just pour into yourself.
Absolutely. And then actually one last thing too, how can you, if we have other spouses listening to this, how can they get connected with their spouse clubs?
Yes. If you Google whatever establishment you're at, like MCA, I always say MCAS because I'm used to air stations and Marine Corps. But if you just Google your base followed by spouse club, something should pop up. If you don't find anything, you can totally reach out to me. I'm happy to help connect. Join the spouse club. It's amazing. Also, like therapy resources, there are always free clinics on base to be seen, as well as I believe it's like Telemend offers therapy online that is covered by TRICARE Humana. So definitely like look into that. But yeah, definitely get involved with the Spouse Club and look on Facebook and also the Cherry Point Spouse Club. It's only $5 to join, and you should totally join us.
Yeah, I love that. And where can listeners connect with you at?
So I am the THE_Abby Herman on Instagram. I don't remember my TikTok handle. I have to look at that and link it below. And you can also email me, abbyhermanmt@outlook. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Abby, for being on the podcast and sharing so many great resources along with your journey.
Thanks for having me. I was excited to be here.
Thank you for listening to Grace of a Military Child and Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, follow, and comment. Also, be sure to check out Instagram and Facebook at Grace of a Military Child and Life for more awesome content. For information on the podcast, Military Child Bigs and Littles, Go AMCL blog, or other resources, visit www.goamcl.org. You can also email me at Gracie, that's GRACIE @GOAMCL.org with any questions or comments. To be a guest on the podcast, you can schedule it at www.goamcl.org/schedule a podcast, all one word, or contact me via social media or email. Stay tuned for the next episode where another incredible story is shared.